When the Cyberpunk 2.0 update released, they decided it would be a good idea to nerf and downright ruin many iconic weapons in the base game. I guess they did it to emphasize the new weapons added in the Phantom Liberty DLC, and I'll be honest, it kind of worked. Many weapons in Phantom Liberty are really good, to the degree that a lot of them are overpowered, so making a top 10 list was pretty difficult. And the constant rebalancing for a single player RPG wasn't helping. I get that this video is definitely a few months late, but in my defense, I had to do multiple playthroughs of the game and use all of the new weapons to a full extent, and then actually compile a list. So there was no need to be so hasty. Anyways, make sure you comment your favorite DLC weapon and tell me why it's your favorite. So let's go ahead and get into the top 10 weapons in Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. My favorite part of the Phantom Liberty DLC is the mission where you break into the Black Sapphire to meet Songbird and find out that she's actually the villain of the story who manipulated you into doing her dirty work. But before you can even attend the party, you have to sneak into the building. Alex will lay out a plan for you, and before you actually sneak into the party, she will give you her old signature weapon named Her Majesty. It's honestly just a standard new with a silencer, but it's actually really good. Ever since they made it so revolvers can't have silencers, I thought we wouldn't get another good stealth weapon, but here we are. There are better stealth weapons than Her Majesty, but it really feels like a James Bond or John Wick weapon, which makes it all the more fun to use. And using optical camo with this gun makes it even better. But speaking of better stealth weapons, Mancinella is a pistol that comes with a silencer attached, just like Her Majesty. But it's not just a pistol, it's a revolver. So it's probably the only revolver with a silencer that you can get after the 2.0 update. You get Mancinella by playing the side quest Run This Town, where you impersonate the world-renowned assassin named Aguilar. Mr. Hands will give you a copy of her signature weapon. It is a revolver with a silencer. I don't think I need to say any more. But if that wasn't good enough, this revolver actually has a chance to poison the enemy when you get a headshot. And you get to momentarily keep your stealth bonuses when you enter combat. So it is quite a good sweeper and lets you quickly take out groups of enemies even if you mess up the stealth. So it's a great weapon for those who would like to try stealth but aren't very good at it. I am those people. But here is where weapons start to get really interesting. If you thought Divided We Stand was a good smart assault rifle, then you haven't seen Hercules 3AX. This is a power and smart weapon hybrid and doesn't require SmartLink in order to use it. Just like Divided We Stand, it has a chance to severely poison your enemies, and killing them causes them to explode into a cloud of poison gas like the morning after Taco Tuesday. And hip-firing the weapon causes explosive splash damage. Try saying that one 5 times fast. You find it in the Phantom Liberty gig Roads to Redemption, where you break into the Nighthawks Rehab Center inside of a crate in the shooting range. Now you can only obtain this weapon during the gig, not before or after, as this location will lock you out of it otherwise. So you have to either get the weapon during the gig or not get it at all. The Phantom Liberty DLC seems to be lacking in melee weapons, more specifically of the sword variety. However, there is one machete you can obtain that's actually really good, and I don't see anyone talk about it like ever. Volkodov is a machete in Phantom Liberty that you find during the gig waiting for Dodger. You are hired to rescue 2 police officers after getting themselves into quite the pickle with Barghest. This gig is my favorite in the entire game, and it's extremely funny, weird, and chaotic. But once you're inside the police station and meet with the 2 officers, you have to escort them out to the garage where their police car is located. However, there is a secret airdrop located inside the police station on the bottom floor during this part of the gig that contains the Volkodov machete. This machete is actually part of a series of Tektronica weapons that were banned because of humanitarian concerns. You know it's something when a weapon gets banned in Night City of all places. And let's just say it wasn't banned for nothing. Volkodov has a chance to light your enemies on fire, and hitting enemies while they're on fire will always deal critical damage. That may not sound that bad, but it can deal some serious damage, especially up against bosses and other enemies with high health. You can also get this machete from the black market vendor if you happen to miss it during this quest, but just remember the black market prices are outrageous, really reflecting our real life economy. But while we're speaking of outrageous black market prices, there is one iconic weapon you can only get from the black market vendor, and that's a shotgun called Order. Now I'm going to put this bluntly, this shotgun is crazy. It is a tech weapon that shoots electrical damage and literally turns your enemies to dust, at least on shots that are charged to at least 66%, which is also a reference to Order 66 and Chancellor Palpatine from Star Wars, who thought a fun little Easter egg would end up being a top 10 weapon in the DLC. But there is another shotgun that's even better than Order. There is a gig in Phantom Liberty where a cyber psycho named Leon Render attacks these longshore stacks and gets away with impunity, so you are hired by the locals to track him down and kill him. After a little bit of investigation, you track him to an old motel, and he offers you his stash in exchange for his life. In doing so, he will give you the location of his storage unit and the code for the door. However, if you already know this information, you can just kill Leon or just skip the gig altogether and come straight to the storage unit. This is a fun shotgun that shoots exploding bullets and has a 400% dismembering chance. Killing an enemy also lights you on fire and gives you a boost to both movement speed and mitigation chance. Yes, it certainly can be quite the fun one. It's also extremely overpowered, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you plan on picking this shotgun up, I highly recommend that you have a biomonitor or a heal on kill implant, both of which should help cancel out the negative effects. But it is alright if you decide to skip this one, because there are plenty of random airdrops inside of Dogtown that contain decent weapons. You can find them with this giant red flare up in the sky. After you kill all the enemies in the area, you can hack the airdrop and get a bunch of cool randomized loot. One of those randomized loot items you can find is actually a pistol called Tigan. This is yet another weapon banned in Night City due to humanitarian concerns. Now this weapon quite literally has the exact same effects as its machete brethren. It has a chance to light your enemies on fire, and continuous attacks while on fire will always deal critical damage. But the Tigan pistol does have one up over the Volkodov machete. This pistol also shoots explosive bullets, which will leave your enemies looking like victims of carpet bombing. So like I said earlier, it was banned for a reason. Phantom Liberty does have a lack of melee weapons, but the few that it does have are really good. This one is technically a throwable weapon, but you can still use it as a melee weapon and get all the bonuses that come with upgrading your blades. And please forgive my pronunciation, but you can get a gal from killing the boss of the Voodoo Boys criminal activity event down the street of the Spa Hotel. This is quite the tough event, especially if you're underleveled, but you can just pick up the weapon off the boss's dead body. When you get a critical hit with this weapon, it releases a shockwave damaging other nearby enemies. This is by far my favorite throwing weapon in the entire game, and it is extremely fun to use. There is a lot of talk about Skippy the talking smart gun, and with the ability to aim exclusively for the head makes it a pretty good smart gun. However, Phantom Liberty decided to kick it to the curb and spread its butt cheeks. Phantom Liberty added a smart gun called Crime Stopper. Shooting enemies has a chance to disable cybernetic limbs and immobilizing them. And if that wasn't good enough, it can lock on to multiple enemies at once, making it extremely overpowered. No, CD Projekt Red, that is not an invitation to nerf yet another item in a single-player RPG. You can find this weapon during the Heaviest of Hearts gig in Dogtown, in the hidden VIP room when you meet with the sexy lawyer lady and her oversized pimp, sitting inside of a suitcase waiting for you. Now, you should obviously know that this would be in the number 1 spot. This is a prototype SMG called Erebus. In Greece mythology, Erebus is the personification of darkness. A fitting name if I do say so myself. Erebus is a weapon that shoots dark energy from beyond the Black Wall. It has the special ability to upload the Black Wall Gateway quick hack to enemies with less than 33% health, along with having a 5% chance to upload the Cyberware Malfunction quick hack every time you hit an enemy. So it's pretty obvious why this weapon is in the number 1 spot. but its cool factor alone is enough to make it my favorite weapon. It'll also periodically talk to you and is described by me as Skippy's evil cousin. It's basically the Shadow the Hedgehog of cyberpunk weapons. Getting this weapon is actually kind of a headache, but it's totally worth it. So to get this weapon, you have to side with Solomon Reed during the Firestarter quest at the stadium, which will lead you to tracking down a now Blackwall hijacked Songbird to the Cynosure bunker that's located underneath Night City. There is an infamous section to this quest where you are basically playing Alien Isolation with a giant robot. And inside the maintenance room within Sector 2, you can find the crafting spec for the weapon. After that, you need to get to the point where Songbird shuts down the giant robot, and you'll be able to loot a behavioral chip off of its corpse. Once you finish the DLC and watch the credits, you'll get a text message from an unknown number telling you to take the chip to a certain netrunner. Then you can take the modified chip and use it to finally craft Erebus. Like I said, it's quite the headache to obtain, but it's totally worth it. This is definitely one of my favorite weapons in the entire game as of right now. There you have it, that was my top 10 weapons in Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. Feel free to follow me on Twitter for random thoughts, memes, and content updates, along with the occasional IGN trash talk. If you want to see more Cyberpunk and other RPG related content, then feel free to subscribe. Anyways, I'll see you later, and remember, the media lies.